For decades, I was just a custom knife maker that was trying to bring the craft to my highest level of ability, and the standards that I set for myself, and continually try to improve. And so as I moved down to California and we tried to add this production component to it, I didn't want to go backwards in quality. So we found some guys, some key guys, and I trained them on exactly what I expected and what I wanted for this production line. And it's so important to me to have that same level of quality in the action and the materials and the fit and the finish and on the semi-custom knives. There's less that can be done, obviously, than a full custom, but it can't be less in quality. It's its own quality level for the product of what it is. It's just, it has to be good or it doesn't leave the shop. And then, doing that, they're expensive to do that. It's expensive to put that much work into one product, and so then we want to take the next step and find a really good manufacturer that could understand that philosophy and go with what I wanted to show him and teach him and train him, and that's when we found David Deng from Riate Knives, and he has the same passion about doing quality, and it just so happens he's in China, but had he been in Brazil or anywhere else, I would have worked with him. It just doesn't matter where. I didn't go for price, I didn't go for location, I went for quality. A lot of people think that a production knife is just cheap because you just put it in the CNC and it's almost like it's on a conveyor belt or something like that, but it's not. If you look inside of this knife, it's pocketed out to reduce weight. So that's one setup. It has to go over on this side. It's machined again. It's taken off. It's deburred. It's cleaned up. It's colored, and then it goes back on the machine. It's cut again, and so every one of these things is hand loading, unloading, somebody paying attention to what's going on. There's a tremendous amount of attention to detail when you're doing something like that, especially when there's three-dimensional shape and two tones like this, where there's a silver and a black together, multiple operations happening that all have to be done in sequence perfectly, or else it's going to be scrapped. Every time I get some knives in from David, they have to be inspected. We have to look through them. And what I'm looking for the evenness in the grind lines. First thing I'm checking is the action. I don't want any blade play in the closed position. I don't want any blade play in the open position. I don't want any vertical play like this. It means the lock's contacting too high. I undo the lock and then I try to move it laterally. No movement is acceptable in that case. The bearing action has to be nice and free and smooth. Detent's nice and crisp, but not over detented. So once it passes the technical side, and then I start really looking at the aesthetics, making sure all the machining is clean, it's all even, there aren't any big burrs or giant tool marks in it. The pocket clip, the tension on the pocket clip is correct. Everything looks good. The tip is centered. Screws, the finish on the screws and the pivot looks good. Even these screws here. So it goes through a lot of inspection. It gets whack tested just to make sure everything's good, and then once it's determined that that's passing the muster there, then it'll get boxed up and get sent to a dealer. I've come too far in my career to accept anything less than the standards that I set forth. If it doesn't meet those standards, it doesn't ship. It's as simple as that. I would never sacrifice quality for a deadline. Never. It's like, sorry, you're not going to get your knife because it's not meeting the standard, or I just couldn't get it the way I want it soon enough. So I would much rather have somebody upset they didn't get their knife on time than somebody upset for the quality.